Welcome to episode 341 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, Vision Pro, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I got some great guests this week. First off, it's Jill McKinley's back on the show. How you doing, Jill?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on during the winter. That's what it is.
Yes, it's been a little chilly up in our neck of the woods here.
Oh, yeah.
And also guest here this week is Mr. Chuck Joyner. How you doing, Chuck?
My name is Jeff Gammett, and I'm sitting in for Chuck. No, wait, it's the other way around.
That's right.
Underpants. Underpants.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So I can say anything if I'm imitating Jeff, and it'll just be fine.
Yeah.
Yep,
and
that's
Jeff
true.
is not here this week, but we have him here in spirit. So, and last but certainly not least, Marty Jencius is here. How you doing, Marty?
We are starting to get some of that cold snow. Well, we've had it for a week, and it hasn't let up. So, I'm glad it's Thursday because Fridays are kind of kickback days. It's always good to be here on Thursday nights.
I always love having you all here. So this week we'll do the usual things, in touch with Vision Pro, in touch with Mac a little bit. I've got a couple other topics. Beta just dropped today. So as we have been traditionally starting, we'll start with the Vision Pro. Apple did seed the Vision Pro OS 2.3 Beta 3 to developers actually today as we record this, and there's pretty much nothing that we know of that has been added. I've even got a link to the developer notes, and there wasn't anything of too much excitement to discuss with the beta, right?
Yeah, if you read the developer notes and you read what was the last release, the last beta release, the developer notes in this beta release said, basically we did what we said we were going to do with the problems we had with the last one, which they said they had taken care of. So
right.
there wasn't a lot to talk about on that. So,
nope, not at all. So we can move right on. And I found that this was an interesting discussion about the Vision Pro. Why is a Vision Pro Apple's best reason yet to bring a Touch ID back to iPhone? Apple introduced Face ID on the iPhone all the way back in 2017, but Touch ID became absent from all about its budget iPhone SE. Well, and the SE is going to lose it too. So I don't know what this is going to do as far as helping a Vision Pro user, other than the fact that you can't use Face ID when you have the Vision Pro on. But I kind of read through this and I kind of scratched my head and say, why would I want to go backwards with Touch ID when Face ID has been the way to go for quite a while, right, Marty?
Yeah, and it's the optical scanning that it does. I mean, the iris scanning that it does. That's sort of the next wave of biometrics. So I'm still trying to figure out what this article is saying in terms of how it's going to integrate it into the Vision Pro, unless bringing back Touch ID on your device allows you to be able to do some things as an interface, like a handheld interface for Vision Pro.
Yeah, I mean, I think being able to get into your iPhone with Touch ID is going to work when it's on, but I don't understand what type of integration we're talking about with the iPhone. I mean, when you have Vision Pro on, I mean, you're not using your iPhone too often, if at all, when it's in use. So I don't know if I could see anything else.
Do we have, like we have on Mac OS, do we have the ability to put up our iPhone as a screen or as a window, if you want to call it that?
I don't think the iPhone, the iPad. The iPad you can.
Yeah, so potentially this could be an identifying factor to link with.
Or you could use iPhone mirroring, of course.
Yeah.
So, Chuck, Jill, you have any thoughts about this?
Can't the eyeball scanning unlock your phone and everything else because it's already looking at your eyeballs?
I would think, but it isn't there yet.
Yeah, but not there yet. But yeah, I think they'll come up with a better solution and it'll be good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like this is one of those things where somebody has a pet theory or a pet feature, and they want to find a reason to bring it back. Because if you can do ID scanning, face scanning with the Vision Pro, I mean, I want to be fair about it. There's something to be said that if I'm wearing my Vision Pro and if some reason I need to unlock my phone, I don't want to have to take the whole Vision Pro off just to unlock my phone. And it's inconvenient for me to push in the enter the passcode. So I get that. But on the other hand, it feels like there should be a way, and maybe I'm being too simplifying things, because really the Vision Pro is just taking this part of your face, not the whole face. So I kind of get the idea where it might be useful if somebody can explain or has a use case where they need their phone unlocked while they're, or to unlock their phone while they're using their Vision Pro.
Yeah.
It's a little shaky, but I guess it could happen.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe, or maybe they come up with something like Jill says, something could be linked to the Vision Pro to unlock it for you using the transmitting it or some way to the iPhone. But who knows?
Because you know that the iPhone is the gateway drug to Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Once you have an iPhone, you got to
right.
have that Vision Pro.
Mm-hmm.
That is right.
That's what you keep telling me, Marty. Yeah.
Yeah. Couple other interesting tidbits here. Mark Gurman had said this past week at Apple is planning no sort of Vision Pro refresh in 2025. He mentions that they could theoretically unveil the headset ahead of the release next year, but signs are all pointing to the new Vision Pro hardware launching in 2026 instead. On the other hand, he reports that Apple has a more urgent goal to create a cheaper headset, and Apple's ramping up development on that one. And, some of the other notable, I don't know if you want to call them notable analysts, I trust more Mark Gurman than anybody else, are saying that, they can be going into production second half of 2025, or they're going to be using M5 processor chips and all that stuff. But so it looks like this is something we're here to stay, at least for this year, and let Apple improve upon what we've got existing, right, Marty?
Yeah, I Vision Profiles this week. The title of the show is Team Gurman or Team Chi-Kuo. I was thinking of Twilight because Eric and I got into this discussion about which team are you on? Are you going to want a Vision Pro 2.0 this year? In that case, you're in Gurman, or you're in Kuo, Chi-Kuo, or are you on Gurman that says it's not coming, but we might come up with a cheaper model. So who knows? Who knows?
Yep. Couple other tidbits here. iOS 18.4 new series powers can really get excited for Vision Pro's future. Apple's upcoming AI features will arrive on 18.4 with a heavy focus on Siri upgrades, but the Vision Pro is the most excited because it could have those capabilities. And he says why. During some of the transitions to Wave progressively changes here, and then all these other superpowers are going to be coming in with 18.4, which includes new action buttons, personal context knowledge, and on-screen awareness. That could help with this along and add Apple Intelligence to the Vision Pro. I mean, what are your thoughts on Vision Pro and Apple Intelligence there, Marty?
This article for me is as Chuck referred to the previous one, it's sort of like, let's do a mashup. It doesn't quite make sense because it's a great article that outlines what's going to happen with iOS and the different phases of it up to 18.4. And that story's been told before in other fashions, but I don't see how this connects to Vision Pro when they said this is not Apple Intelligence is not a priority for the Vision Pro. And then other people were saying, well, it doesn't have the chip to do it. Well, yes, it does, but that chip is doing other things. So that's why we have to have a Vision Pro 2 with an M5 in it. I have a hard time getting as excited about as the author is about the possibility of this blending together or really having an impact when I don't think these are well tied together ecosystems. That's based on an iPad model. So,
you guys have any thoughts on this? Chuck?
I agree with what Marty just said. I do think though that if you look far enough out, you can see it's pretty easy to see how Siri could become part of the scratch that. Siri and Vision Pro can all become part of the Apple ecosystem, interacting and going back and forth. And so, yeah, but I feel like we're a long way there. And these kind of things, I mean, okay, great. So if Siri gets the S Lady, I'm probably summoning people's devices. If the S Lady gets all these new superpowers, that's great. Sooner or later, they're going to funnel over to the Vision Pro. But that just feels like saying, that, okay, evolution is going to continue. We're going to continue to make this, the Earth's going to continue to revolve around the sun. Yeah, we're going to make progress. They're going to make progress. So it feels a little clickbaity in that regard, because it just sort of states the obvious.
Yeah, for me, there's at one point in the article where I'm a pretty new Vision Pro owner. I've had the device less than a month and haven't used a ton yet due to the holiday travels and businesses. It's sort of like, yet you're making predictions of where the technology is going to go. Well, more power to you.
Yep. So finally here, I thought this was interesting that Mark Zuckerberg admits Apple Vision Pro is better than the Quest 3 for watching movies. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he admitted that the Vision Pro is better than Quest 3 for watching movies. And he had posted a video and reviewing the headset compared to the Quest 3, and he of course is going to say the Quest 3 is a better product, period, because it's better for the vast majority of things that people use mixed reality for. Claimed he was actually surprised to discover this. But then he, almost a year later, he admits that the one use of the case is the Apple Vision Pro is better for watching movies. So then he goes through and starts talking about, they ship something for $3,500, and then the worst thing is that we're shipping it for $300 to $400. So clearly that was not going to work very well. And says Apple's a good technology company. Maybe it'll be better the next version, and goes on and on about this. So I don't know, but sometimes you got to wonder what Mark Zuckerberg says with things, in my opinion. But what do you think on this, Chuck? I'll start with you.
What day of the week is it? What time of the day is it? Yeah. And what phase of the moon is it? Zuckerberg says so many things that are so self-serving that it's just hard to take what he says about much of anything seriously anymore. I mean, look, I know he runs one of the largest social media networks. I probably don't think I'm alone in saying he runs it poorly, or for his/their own purposes. So I just, if talk up your product, but why are you comparing it to somebody else's? Why? Because clearly the Apple Vision Pro has generated more excitement, and I'll steal something I think Marty's going to say at some point, is that the Vision the Facebook product is supposed to be one thing. The Vision Pro is supposed to be another, and maybe movie watching is where the two overlap, and Zuckerberg's admitting that it's a superior experience on the Vision Pro. So it depends on what you want to do with your device.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Mark, go ahead. What do you think, Marty?
Jill, do you have anything on it? I really didn't want to be asked this question first. So,
well, I do have an Oculus, and I've bought each of the varieties all the way up the line. And I got a chance at MacStock to try the Vision Pro. Beautiful photos, beautiful movies, just gorgeous inside of there. Productivity is going to be better in there. But I have a ton of fun with my Oculus because I exercise with it. I am biking around Iceland inside of my Oculus, which I don't think you can do on the Vision. Is not there yet. And so I'm hoping that it gets there, but I love my Oculus. I think the Vision is great for its things too. And I think you're right, Chuck. It depends on what you're going to use it for. I'm exercising. I'm having experiences on the Oculus, and it's been just great. And I love that thing, but I'm, curious to see what happens in the future with the Vision Pro. It's going to look more beautiful inside of there for sure.
All right. My question to Mark Zuckerberg. At first, I wanted to place myself in the mindset of Joe Rogan, and I thought I would have to be institutionalized if they did that.
Yeah, you would.
But my question for Mark Zuckerberg is, it's great you concede the video to Apple. How does the Oculus do with spreadsheets?
Right.
How does the Oculus do with video editing? How good is the Oculus with mail? I mean, he's has the opportunity to make a comment about Apple and says it's bad on all these other things, but we're good on this, and Apple happens to be good on this one thing. They're two, as Chuck pointed out, they're two different products, two different purposes, but that never strikes him. He equivocates both of those products as being the same because it's just to his advantage. And unfortunately, nobody calls him on that crap.
Yeah.
Except us.
Except us, right? So let's go ahead and move on. We'll go to beta this week. 18.3 iOS and iPadOS beta 3 was released actually today as we record this. I don't know if you had a chance to install it, Marty or Jill, yet, but it had a little bit some notification summary changes, and the camera controls got some in the section settings has a renamed toggle. It's a little off the wall things there. Messages sidebar accessible by tapping the plus button in any conversation. It is now a Genmoji entry that tapping it takes you to the Genmoji creation interface. PDF editing. Well, editing a PDF with the screenshot interface, you can crop out. Apple now provides a warning that cropped content is not removed from the PDF. And some other stuff, but for the most part, nothing too overly exciting. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah, I would. I installed it on my iPads and checked it out, and there was nothing terribly exciting in there for sure.
Yeah. Nothing in Apple Intelligence is going to be coming out in this version, so I won't expect much. So, anything else to add, Marty?
No, I worked for university the first week of classes, so I was too busy parenting students. And that sucked up all my afternoon to even notice the betas came out. So apologize for that, but
no, I didn't install it either. You're not alone. Then iOS 18.3 is going to temporarily remove the notification summaries for news. With this update, Apple had to make some changes to Apple Intelligence notification summaries that were aggregating incoming notifications into a single quick access message. For now, those summaries for news and entertainment categories are temporarily disabled, and Apple's working on improvements because it was reporting some not so how do I say it? Not so appropriate notifications that weren't true. I think it's more it was. So you can in the settings app when a user activates notification summaries, Apple has added a warning that this is a beta feature and there could be errors. So now they're protecting themselves now because there was, if I remember a couple weeks ago, there was an article about that saying that there were some inappropriate non-factual news messages that were coming up. So that's one thing that was notable in there as well. So that's about it with beta. WatchOS 18.3 is out. tvOS 18.3 is out. And then interestingly enough, this was found today as we record. A minor update to Apple TV was released today. It's 18.2.1. And it can be installed. It's got minor updates that addresses an issue where data may not sync correctly across devices. So that goes along with the bug fixes from iOS and iPadOS 18.2.1 as well. So again, nothing too overly exciting in Apple TV world there as well. It never really is. So let's go ahead and move on to Mac.
Hey, you forgot about the Snoopy. That was exciting. We got the Snoopy screensaver. That was super exciting.
Yeah. That came out in 18.3.
No, I know, but sometimes something exciting.
I'm sorry. 18.2, excuse me.
Yeah.
No, it is exciting. I agree with you. So Apple did release the third beta of macOS Sequoia to developers, 15.3. Again, nothing too overly exciting with that either. Genmoji characters behave like the emoji on devices on 18.1 and 18.1 on iPad. So, not much to talk about there. But a couple things that are interesting, I think, is the MacBook Air turned 17 this week. Apple's CEO, Steve Jobs, announced the MacBook Air 17 years ago at the Macworld Conference and Expo in San Francisco, captivating audiences with a groundbreaking design and setting new standards. We all remember him pulling that iPad out of that inner office envelope and showing it to everybody for the first time. And it's 17 years later. It's made it's one of their cornerstone Macs. I mean, I own one. I absolutely love it. I think it's one of their best Mac products for most people. Most of us here too also like to have more of a power version of a Mac. But what do you guys think? What do you think, Chuck?
I was just trying to look this up because I cannot remember the journalist who was given a MacBook Pro and excuse me, a MacBook Air and lost it because he believes his wife threw it away because it was so thin. It's a journalist you would know. He's well known, but I when this came out, I had to go back and double check it because it's like 17 years. Is that all? It seems like it's been around for a lot longer in some ways. In other ways, it seems like it's a lot newer. But I distinctly remember the demo at Macworld when Steve brought it out, and it was just, I mean, it was typical Steve, and it was such a great way to demonstrate just how thin it was by pulling it out of that manila envelope. So it's one of those devices that if it suits your needs, it's great. It was never intended to be a high horsepower device. It was intended to have ridiculously long battery life and be ridiculously light and thin. And it accomplished that and continues to accomplish it.
Sure does. What do you think, Jill?
I think they're great. When they came out, I didn't know a lot about them, but I think my next MacBook is probably going to be an Air, and I'm just, glad to see the progress in it, seeing how it's just come along and is so much more powerful. And like you said, it can handle most things. And I don't see a reason for my next MacBook to be the Pro like I bought the last time.
Yep. Agree. How about you, Marty?
When I saw, and I can't remember, I wasn't at Mac to watch the live on stage thing. I can't remember if I saw a video playback of it or a clip of it when it came out. And I thought, that is one, showmanship. Two, that's really pretty amazing. And three, I will sit on it within the first week. So it scared me to have a device that thin. And, you treat it gingerly. I eventually got one. The one that I really miss is that little 10-inch, and I still have it, but you can't use it anymore. I mean, to me, that's the really portable Mac, is that little, and I guess we have iPads, but for a full Mac OS system, that little 10-inch or 11-inch MacBook that they had back then, I love that for travel.
Then the MacBook Pro turned 19 years old this week. They have Steve Jobs announced that at the 2006 Macworld Conference and Expo, and that was the first to transition from the PowerPC to the Intel Core Duo architecture. That was my first Mac. Now I got the first MacBook. I had the white MacBook was my very first official new Mac. Then it got me hooked for forever here. It was claiming at that time 4 times the performance of a PowerBook G4. And then that transition with Rosetta, the software translation later, and all that other fun stuff with the MacBook Pro. But look where the MacBook Pro is now today. I mean, included the two USB 2 ports, a FireWire 400 port, and a gigabit Ethernet port. And slots like the Express Card 34 for expandability. So it was a workhorse, and it was a heavy one too. I'm sure, Chuck, you had one of these, right?
Absolutely. I was thrilled over this because this meant that I could have an equivalent desktop in a portable laptop, and so this was a no-brainer purchase for me. What can I say? And even so, even now, it's still. You guys heard me wrestle on my show when I talk about getting a new laptop. Do I go with one of the 14 inches or do I go with the larger screen, which gives me so much more real estate to carry around with me? And if Eric was here, he would tell me, yes, the Apple Vision Pro will do that for you. Okay, fine.
Well, yes. We would too, but
yeah. Well, I was trying to steal Marty's thunder because Eric's the one that always advocates for that particular feature. But yeah, the Air was fun and really sexy, but this was the one that really captured me. No question about it.
Yep. Marty, any thoughts? think you're muted.
I think this was the first MacBook that I touched. And it was given to me because I went down to our IT department and said, I'd really like to do, what do they call it? It was a podcast, but they had like a addition to it from the Apple side where you could put slides in or put graphics in. And it would then play on things like iPods or other devices. And from an educator standpoint, I just started doing podcasts, and I thought I could use this kind of format for that. So I begged to get one of these to use it, and they gave it to me, and they forgot about it, and it's somewhere downstairs in a closet and has stopped working because I let my son play with it when he was younger. But it's the first one I touched. And so I had to learn on my own how to manage it.
Yep, that's for sure. All right, let's move on and to other topics. I thought this was interesting. This was an opinion piece. It's time for Apple to modernize its iCloud storage tiers. Apple, of course, has introduced iCloud back in June of 2011, and since then, the free tier of the iCloud has remained at the dreaded 5 gigabytes. However, you're not going to talk about this. It's definitely a little too what we really need after a decade and a half later. Apple has a bigger issue to address with is paid tiers. Because right now, they've got the 50 gig plan for 99 cents a month, the 200 gig plan at $2.99 a month, and then the 1 terabyte plan at $9.99 a month. That was between 2015 and 2017. And then you got 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes that would cost you $19.99 a month. But certainly the need that you had to have the 2 terabytes since 2015, eliminating that 1 terabyte was a big gap in the lineup here. So, but once Apple introduced iCloud Plus and the Apple One bundle, you're going to get some much better deals, especially with a family plan with the 2 terabytes with that. So, and I've had the Apple One Premier bundle for ever since it started. So, but I like his proposals here. I don't know what you guys think. Maybe increase the storage a little bit. Start at 100 gigabytes for $1.99 a month, 400 gigabytes for $3.99 a month, and then 2 terabytes can be $9.99 a month. Because come on, let's face it, storage is not that expensive these days. You're seeing Dropbox and many of the other cloud storage services are offering a little better deals. But we all want to be in the Apple ecosystem, and it's hard to beat it, but I wish Apple would do something like that. What do you think on this, Chuck?
David. I felt like this article could be written by Kelly Gamont. Because she's been beating this drum for a long time. You know what? It's Apple's product to charge. The point you made, I think, was the most important one there, that iCloud is part of the Apple ecosystem. So you can buy lots of raw data storage in a lot of different places, like Dropbox, some that are a little bit more fly by night or that don't have established reputations yet. You can buy it from some of the online backup companies. But if you want that integration with the Apple ecosystem, you're going to need iCloud. And for the most part, there's some ways around a few things, but not all of it. So, it's Apple's game to play. It's a seller's market. And people are still buying this. If suddenly there was this big backlash where people said, I'm not going to pay this much and dropped iCloud, then maybe we'd see some price changes. But as is, would it be nice? Of course, I would like to have more storage for the money. So don't misunderstand. I'm not stupid. But I also respect Apple's position and the fact that they are in the driver's seat when it comes to charging for iCloud storage.
Yep. Jill, how about you?
Well, as my brother mentioned in chat, I brought him into the family, and I have me, who's doing all this video and podcasting. I have 2 photo bugs, and then someone else who doesn't use it at all. The family plan, it can fill up quite quickly. And so I do agree that we have to start looking at this. And you're right, you want that integration. You want everything in right there. But I manage what goes into iCloud very dedicatedly so I don't overwhelm it with all my stuff on my Macs.
Yep. Well, yeah, what Jill mentioned, that our YouTube channel and our YouTube chat, that's youtube.com/intouchableios. Witherbucket, he's in the chat and left that comment. I appreciate you being here. So about you, Marty, any thoughts on this iCloud storage?
You can get it cheaper other places, but for me, then it's sort of like, okay, where did I put that? And here are the 3 steps I have to do to get it, versus just being seamlessly integrated into my whole ecosystem. And I'll pay the price. That's fine. I think it would be great if they gave us more storage. My suggestion is that they charge the EU for it. I don't know if these types of articles are going to drive Apple's business plan around cloud storage. I think they're on top of it. They know what they can charge. They know what people will pay for. In terms of the recent lawsuit about them not allowing people in, or, the concept that they have to be tied within the system in order for it to use. That could be a factor in terms of PR to get them to change the allocations and keep the same price. But I don't know if that's going to have a big impact.
Yep. I just don't see, I think Apple's going to keep its status quo they have for all these years as it is anyway. And, people complain about it, but it's okay. They even have the option. I think even with the Apple One bundle, you can up your storage up to 4 terabytes now. So they added that within the last couple of years too. So at least on the top end, they're offering more storage if you so need it. In my family, I got all my family on our family plan, and they're sharing 2 terabytes, and yeah, it's already at 1.5 terabytes. So because of all the photos and messages and all that stuff adds up quick. So.
There are certain things like the media stuff that I do. I keep on my Synology server as backup. And then I also have copies of it stored in a hard drive or something that I can remove. Yeah. So I'm not dumping a lot of stuff up there, but I have the full family plan. I have 5 people on it, and none of them are really using the storage, so it's all mine.
There you go. Oh no, I've got the hungry people in my family who have taken lots of photos, and I think messaging is what really takes up a lot of it. Tens of thousands of messages they probably have stored on their iPhones, that it does add up. So
I have a pretty sophisticated situation where I take all my recording stuff and I do put it on the Synology drive, and then I have Backbone that uploads it up to the cloud all the time. But I am constantly dumping things off the Mac to make sure that I don't fill up. Our account.
That's good idea.
You know what, Dave? You brought up something that folks might want to check, because I've noticed that one of the places where I lose capacity on my phone and in iCloud are the photos that stack up in
photos too.
Look, text messages are text message, but photos, and especially the more recently, as the cameras have gotten bigger, the files have gotten, the phones have gotten better, the files have gotten bigger. So if you can go through and just take a little time and trim some of those, you can save a pile of storage real fast.
The problem with messages, I think, is a lot of the media that gets added into it. That's why the messaging just grows and grows, because, I'm on text strings all the time with the family, and they're, here's a picture of this, here's a picture of that, and it just keeps adding up and up and up. And especially when you have 15,000 messages that you never delete, as people said, it never delete. Because I might need to look at that message from 3 years ago at some point. That they're both the biggest culprits when it comes to storage. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk a little bit about messaging. One thing I thought I would talk about is the carriers that are currently supporting RCS messaging on the iPhone. iOS 18 had added that support. We've talked about a number of times, was RCS messaging, a new protocol that enhances text experience between the iPhone and the Android users. And I must say, it's been quite lovely of family and friends that I have that have the Androids. It's still very bizarre to me to see a green bubble, and it says that they read the message, and it also shows you that they're typing. because you never could see that from an Android person before. But with RCS, that's made it so much more seamless here. And so a lot of us have joined in with this. So right now, the carriers that are being supported, there's a whole long list here. The big three, of course, and like Consumer Cellular, Cricket, and all them, Verizon, Visible, Xfinity Mobile. One of the notable things is Mint. Mint is not, which was acquired by T-Mobile not too long ago, and Ultramobile are particularly interesting because they have not yet gotten around to supporting the RCS in its sub-brands. So I found that to be interesting. Of course, all these carriers are called MVNOs, which is a mobile virtual network operator. They're small carriers, but Mint Mobile is actually pretty awesome. I've tried it, and I think it's our regular contributor Jeff Gammon has Mint Mobile. He's been very happy, but I don't know what they're waiting for on the RCS here. So you guys have any thoughts about RCS? I think it's important. I'm glad Apple finally gave it. Chuck, what do you think on this?
I think it's great. I think that at the very least, it, from an appearance standpoint, it gave the regulators one less thing to beat on Apple for, and it didn't compromise any of Apple's security positions. So it's one of those things that, okay, fine, it's great. Now my Android friends maybe are getting a little bit better experience, and maybe I'm getting a little better experience out of them. It was never something that was important to me because I could still communicate with my Android friends. They just didn't see some of the cool things I wanted to do, or I couldn't see some of the cool things they wanted to do. At the end of the day, it was messaging.
Yeah, that's fair. That's sure. How about you, Marty?
We still have a few vagrants in our family that we allow to come to that are using Android phones. And it was really frustrating until this change occurred. And so now they're getting our messages. We're not having to go separate. I mean, there were times I like to do most of my messaging off my desktop, and that never worked for me, and I know, yeah, that's right. I got to go to my phone and send these messages to the vagrants. But now it seems to work pretty well for me and seamlessly. But with Mint Mobile not in it, I mean, I have a Mint Mobile line as my second line. I understand why Ryan Reynolds is not returning my messages.
Sure. Well, he did make a good buck by selling it to T-Mobile, so yeah. I think he's okay. So that's RCS. Then this was interesting about a phishing attack that came up this week. A new social engineering tactic is used by cyber criminals to trick iPhone users into disabling the iPhone iMessage's built-in phishing protection. Excuse me. It's a bid to expose them into malicious links and scams. What it does is exploits a security feature in iMessage that automatically disables the links from unknown senders. Apple told the outlet when the users reply to these messages or add the sender to their contacts, the link becomes clickable, which is not good. And by getting users to respond, attacks are not only enabled to the previously disabled links, but also identifying phone numbers and more likely to engage with future scams. And of course, tech-savvy users are not likely will be likely to identify these. I do all the time, like the old dreaded USPS one that your package wasn't delivered on time. By the way, you better pay this toll, and they have the fake URLs. So it's just sad that you have to see all this stuff with this, but you got to be vigilant. I post these things on social media all the time when I get them. I say, hey, look, they tried to trick me on. So what do you think on this, Jill?
Yeah, I think that we have to clap down on these. I've been a part of a company that got hacked through somebody's cell phone, someone high up. I've been through a health insurance company that got hacked through somebody's cell phone and got hacked. And we got to get this. This seems like a solvable problem. And I'm glad they're identifying these things, but there has to be something that they can do about this.
Yep. How about you, Chuck?
I think it's interesting. They're giving you instructions like this that are just, it sort of defeats the whole purpose of what a link would be. And I'm not, but believe me, I'm not advocating anybody click links in text messages unless you are absolutely sure. But that said, if you have to go out, come back, click this, send this, why don't they just put up a sign that says we're trying to hack you? Now that's for you and the four of us here and the audiences that we serve. But I feel like at some point, the general public has got to wake up and spend just a little bit of time being educated and thinking about some of this stuff. It's not a case of them getting what they deserve if they don't, but it just, hopefully you're smart enough at this point to put your seatbelt on when you get in the car. And I'm starting to equate some of the knowledge about this stuff to that kind of thing, that it just costs so little to spend just a second, and it can save you so much.
Yep. I mean, you, Marty.
Go ahead. Click that link. Prove Darwin right. I have to admire when I look at these that are in the article, and I've gotten both of them at some capacity.
Yeah.
The ingenuity, because it's not going to catch me, but all they have to do is catch, less than 1% of the messages that they send out, and they're in business. I wish there was a way that our phones could do a better job of catching those so they don't even come up. And I have I have all sorts of spam cleaners and things like that on my phone, but I wish it's still really annoying text messages because it feels like more of an invasion of my privacy because it's coming through my phone number, that there is a special place in hell for these folks.
Well, and the problem is, as you said, if you get caught and all that, it wasn't me who got caught, but I was an employee of the company. It wasn't me who got caught, but I was a member of that insurance company. And so they just need one high up person. And then there's a lot of victims that never did anything wrong, that didn't click on a link and never would. Yeah.
Agreed. So let's move on to Apple One. The Apple One is finally going to be getting an update. And what it's going to add is some more fitness things with AI. We talked about last week where you're going to get access to advanced views of Apple TV Plus, and this is something that's going to be really cool. But Apple One is going to get this AI health coaching service. It's in the works. It's, again, from Mark Gurman's been writing about this for forever, and this past weekend is referred to as an AI-based coaching services that meant to bolster Apple's huge health ambitions. It's supposedly going to be its own app, carry a monthly fee, and keep people motivated to exercise. So, would we benefit from this? Rob, some people will, but it's good to see that they're doing this with that, because I'm impressed at what they have added here. So, as we know, that the bundle includes iCloud Plus, Apple TV Plus, Apple Music, Apple Arcade, Apple Fitness Plus, and then Apple News Plus. So they're just looking to see maybe it's when this will come out, and it's potentially this all points to a launch in 2025. Marty, what do you think on this? I mean, the health app is great. I think they're doing more and more great things with health, and this is no surprise.
Yeah, I'm curious about this because I can tell you what my consultation will be. Get out of the chair, walk downstairs, avoid the refrigerator, walk back upstairs, go back to work.
Yep.
But I am curious because I think, and I've lodged this complaint on one of the shows, it might have been an old Mac Gang, where I said, the fitness is not really geared towards older sedentary users. And that's kind of a market they're missing, but maybe it's a market they're not really going for anyways. But something like this could be very encouraging.
Absolutely. How about you, Jack?
You know what? I hear what Marty's saying, and I agree with everything he said. But that said, Apple has to, at this point, Apple cannot continue to try to create products that are for everyone. So they're going to have to pick their niches, pick their markets, maybe have different products to address different segments of the market. And I kind of feel like that may be where this is going. It's definitely a place. I mean, health and wellness and fitness are definitely a place that Apple is making a great name for themselves, along with some of the other aspects of health like sleep and those kind of things. So yeah, I think it's great. I just am, to Marty's point, I'm not sure it's for everybody, but it's nice that it's included in the bundle. And so maybe it might encourage you to get off the sofa or get just a little more active, which is going to be good for all of us.
Yep. You, Jill?
Tried a few of these products that do something similar, and I didn't like their rules, like nuts. They're high density and high fat, and then I'm like, well, nuts are good for you, though. So I'm hoping that this with Apple, they invested heavily in the health market. They know all about our health with our watch and our exercise and all those things. I think they're poised to be able to do this right, as compared to I'm just going to have this one philosophy of diet and weight loss, and you have to follow it. But I also think, to the people who haven't tried Apple Fitness, there are programs out there for people who are just trying to get off the couch. There's all sorts of levels on there, so I'm excited about this more than probably anything that I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think Jill, I was going to ask, do you think the added potential of Apple AI knowing more about our context, that I happen to like nuts, could be used to help this type of health coaching?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think Apple knows their health better than anyone, but I also think that this is their starting point for AI. We know a lot about this. We know a lot about you. Let's start diving into AI with this, because we have a lot of data about this, and I think it can get to know you and start to figure out a program for you that's more nuanced than these other applications that I've tried. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I wanted to throw in one tip here before we moved on to some of the news this week. The default apps has always been an intriguing thing. When iOS 18.2 was introduced, Apple has a way for everybody to select their preferred default apps for the iPhone. Apple initially promised this feature would be coming to the European Union, but it's now actually available worldwide. Why do we want the freedom to choose? And what matters? Because it really marks a shift from Apple's traditional closed ecosystem, giving you more control to interact with your device rather than being locked into Safari for web browsing and Apple Mail for email, which I think a lot of us are anyway. You can set third-party alternatives like Chrome, Firefox, Gmail, or Outlook as your go-to apps. Means when you tap a link or an email address, the iPhone will automatically open to that preferred app instead of its built-in options. In iOS 18.2, there's also default app settings for email, messaging, calling, call filtering, browser apps, passwords, and codes, and keyboards. For users in the European Union, there's also an additional app installation option to choose an alternate app marketplace, of course, instead of the App Store. So how do you do it now? They made it really easy now, because now what you can do is you go into the settings and then you scroll down and then select apps, and then you tap default apps. Now, default apps is going to show all the default apps that are available. So in the case that you pick passwords and codes, like it shows passwords or NPass. If you have one password, it'll choose one of those as well. If you choose to use your browser as a password manager, you can use that as well. So it does give you that option. So I think this is nice to be able to have controls of what you want as your default browser. I think, do any of you, Chuck, do you use default apps that Apple comes with? You don't deviate away from that, right?
The only deviation I have is Mail. I do not use Apple Mail. I use Gmail. But other than that, yeah, what comes with the device is fine. Because outside of the Mail situation, I am heavily inside the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Marty?
I have had a Mac.com address for a long time. Before that, a me address and all of those options. So I'm kind of wired into the Apple Mail system. However, my office uses Outlook. So I don't go to a default for either one of those. So the idea of picking a default is not an advantage for me. And I just have both of those icons on my homepage. And if I'm looking at office mail, and that's helped me, I can incorporate office mail, my office email, into my Apple Mail, but I can't incorporate the requests that come through because it's Outlook for meetings and things like that, or meetings that are established. It just doesn't work for me. And it also allows me to kind of separate my professional email and not get it all. I can do all that in Outlook too, but then I just need to separate those two workspaces. I use Fantastical versus Apple Calendar. And that was because I had different calendars on different systems that I wanted to integrate. I guess I could pretty much default to Google, but then again, I still deal with my university's choice of running their calendars through the Microsoft system. So.
Yep. That's how I'm at work too. I have to use I keep Outlook just exclusive for work. I don't even use it for anything else. Just don't want to get piled up into one app like that. I mean, I use Apple Mail most of the time. I don't all the time. That's pretty much how I've been using it. But I like the Gmail app. I think I agree with you, Chuck, that app does work pretty well. Mm-hmm. And then browsers, I stick with Safari, but I always like to poke around and look at some of the other browsers too. So
yeah, I switched all of them. I use Brave browser. I use SparkMail, which I switched to after Macstock because of someone's presentation. I use Fantastical. So I've used all different apps, and I'm glad they allowed it. And I remember Microsoft didn't allow it either, and it was annoying. So I'm glad everybody is just letting everyone do what they want.
Absolutely. All right, let's go with some of the news this week. This is late-breaking story. It came out today as we record this. Carrot Weather is now introducing a CarPlay app and automatic live activities. The vastly popular weather app Carrot Weather has update to these new features in CarPlay to support automatic live activities. When asked via CarPlay, weather becomes a navigation app like Google Maps. You enter your destination and receive turn-by-turn directions, and with the added benefit of being able to view the weather along your driving route. The weather features includes live radars for weather warnings, wind speeds, visual levels as well. Carrot's weather's turn-by-turn directions are also as snarky as their weather forecasts are, so be prepared for such remarks as "turn left on rodeo drive, meatbag," and "you went the wrong way, idiot," and then have to recalculate your route. So I absolutely love Carrot Weather. I think it's probably one of the best investments ever. I mean, I think I pay like $20 a year for their pro plan, and I really like it. I know, Jill, you brought that up. Go ahead and let your thoughts.
Well, I'm a weather nerd, so I just got CarPlay, so it's like my two great loves have just come together into one place, and I could not be more excited.
Yeah, Marty or Chuck, do you use Carrot Weather?
I got fascinated with it, and I also paid for a subscription for it. And I think that one time there were levels, and it was like I like developers who do different, particularly strange things, and I'm willing to support that with a subscription. And,
sure.
And I have it set at the highest snarky level, and encourage profanity. The idea that I can integrate it with CarPlay, I haven't tried yet, but that sounds like fun.
Just came out.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like fun, and I'm going to set that up and maybe not tell my spouse. And just get in the car and have a good direction. I got into the thing. I got into the thing where it was like a trivia contest on the app where you would locate different structures. They'd give you some little clue, and then I'd spend my morning trying to figure it out, and that was fun. I mean, so I just again re-up my subscription with it, but hadn't touched it in a while. This gives me reason to play with it again.
I think mine's about to renew, so I'm going to be re-upping myself. Chuck, what weather app do you use?
I've come to enjoy a weather app called Looks Like Rain. I just find that really good, and that one and Weather Radar are my two. I'm a podcast host. I get plenty of snark. I don't need my apps giving it to me too.
I have it on the most gentle, tender setting possible for my little soul.
Oh my God, that's too funny. All right, so let's move on. Goldman Sachs CEO says that the contract with Apple may end early. Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon says there's a possibility. There's some possibility that the company's Apple Card partnership could end early. This was according to reports from Reuters. Goldman Sachs and Apple have have a contract that's supposed to last until 2030. The financial company wants to get out of the consumer banking and out with its Apple deal. We've been seeing all kinds of reports about this. I don't have to repeat this all. That there has been a suggestion way back as November 2023 about this. Apple initially approached American Express about the deal, and then but the problem is it has to run on the MasterCard network until 2026 because of the prior contract. They had been in talks with JP Morgan Chase about an Apple takeover, but the deal could take months. But then right when this came out, another article came out and says that 3 companies are now in the running for this, and that's Barclays, which Apple partnered with years ago. I used to have a Barclays Apple Card, and Synchrony, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's kind of a subpar store branded bank. That's according to sources. This came out today as we record. So I'm interested to see where this goes, because I really love the Apple Card. I love using it. I use it all the time. It's got then the savings account is pretty amazing. I'll start with you, Chuck. What do you think on all this?
We've been seeing this for months. It's pretty clear that Goldman wants out of this, and it becomes a question of how much they're willing to pay to get out of it, because they're on the hook until 2030. So if they're going to get out, they're going to have to pay to get out. Whether that money goes to Apple, whether it goes to the new suitor that wants to take it over, or it gets split, I don't know. I think if Apple's smart, and I think Apple's very smart, they will insist on an equivalent, at least an equivalent customer experience to what they're having now. And we've all had some positive experiences with Goldman Sachs. We've also had some negative experiences. Usually when you hit the Apple side, you have a great experience. But when you get turned over to Goldman, maybe not so much. So I hope for that reason. It seems like Goldman's heart is not in it, pretty obviously, if they're releasing stories like this. So I hope it happens sooner than later, and then we see what the next chapter is.
How about you, Jill? Do you have an Apple Card, Jill?
I do have an Apple Card, yeah. And I guess it's weird because it sort of strikes me that Apple wants to do the right thing by the consumer. So when Goldman Sachs joined, I thought better of them, because I thought that means they too want to do it. Now that they want to get out, it makes me question why. What is it they're doing?
Yeah, it's not the consumer business. It's not their thing anymore.
Yeah, so I guess I sort of think highly of a company that will do this, and because I know that Apple wants to do the right thing by its consumers.
Yeah, well, maybe Apple will partner with Barclays once again. Marty, you have an Apple Card too, I know. And
I have an Apple Card. Actually, this week I've become more relied on it for everything, because my usual bank card, I don't want to say it got hacked, but I had a service that kept trying to charge me enormous amounts. And the only way out of it was to dissolve that card that I use all the time and wait for the new one to come in the mail. So everything's now going through my Apple Card, and my wife's been a little more educated on it because the numbers change, and it's really quite good for that purpose.
Yep. And then Apple's Pay Now lets you pay later with the Synchrony. So they did sign with Synchrony now for the buy now, pay later option. Even though Apple was doing this on its own with a back end partner, but then they dropped it. But now they've got Synchrony as their partner. It's an installment provider, and they have a document that was updated today as we record this, and joining a firm in Killarney. This edition was also found here as well. But Synchrony is going to be the one in the U.S. And at first, they removed synchrony from the support document after this article was published, but then just today that now the payment plans are now available. Not a product that I would probably be too interested in it. With all the credit I have, I don't think I need to do a buy now, pay later deal, but it does come in handy for a lot of other people's. What do you think, Marty?
This describes the first 10 years of my marriage. Buy now, pay later. And it took us a while to dig out of that. So we have vehemently avoided any type of credit card. And we do have ones because we need to have them, but we are religious about paying them off at the end of the month. And that was a hard lesson to learn. So these kind of services don't attract me. In fact, I think my concern is that it could entice folks easily into overextending their credit.
Yes, I agree with that. How about you, Jill?
I ended up buying my first MacBook, which was the first M1 with that, so I ended up using whatever they had the buy now, pay later thing for it, just because I didn't want to get it on a credit card. I wanted to use something that was just separate by itself and but I try not to use those things. It was just a special occasion.
Yep. You, Chuck?
Everybody's doing it. I'm not a fan of paying interest rates. I'm like Marty. I want to pay off my credit cards every month so that I'm the one getting the benefit, not the credit card companies. That said, there are times that this is helpful for a lot of people. So as long as there's I seem to sing the same song a lot. As long as it comes down to proper disclosure and proper education, I'm fine with it. You just need to know what you're getting into.
But Chuck, don't you realize that all of us who paid off our credit cards at the end of the month is why Goldman Sachs wants to drop the Apple Card?
Absolutely, Marty. But on the other hand, somebody, we aren't the only ones that pay off our credit cards on time, and the other banks are issuing credit cards and making money. So either Goldman is not making money, or they're not making enough to satisfy them.
Yeah. Probably the latter. Okay. iPhone driver's license support. I've always been talking about this, and I'm kind of excited to say this. It's going to be coming to my home state of Illinois. iPhone users from Illinois will soon be able to add their driver's license and IDs to the Apple Wallet app on the iPhone Apple Watch. And our Secretary of State announced today, Illinois just passed a law that went into effect January 1st. It legalizes mobile IDs, allowing for places of business to accept digital driver's license in lieu of physical licenses. Right now, Illinois does not have a mobile licensing program, and the state is beginning the process of developing digital driver's licenses. The Secretary of State is planning to establish standards of security and conduct and rigorous testing to make sure that that data from Illinois residents is kept private. And Illinois is aiming to bring the driver's license and IDs to Apple Wallet by the end of 2025. But that may be a little more ambiguous than with nothing in place just yet. So, and as we know, most of the states that already have it so far, it's been Arizona, Colorado, Georgia, Maryland, Hawaii, California, Ohio, Iowa, New Mexico, and Puerto Rico has implemented it. So Illinois is going to have, Ohio has it. Yeah, I think I said Ohio, your home state there, Marty. And Connecticut, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Utah, Montana, West Virginia are looking to implement it this year. And we've got a new Secretary of State. The one that was before us was a great Secretary of State. He was also the Secretary of State for probably like 20 plus years. And, times have changed. And I think I'm already seeing a lot of changes in the DMV and being able to do everything online. And I was able to renew my driver's license from home. I didn't have to go in unless you have to, depending on your age. And they're being a little more aggressive with the age verifications. They can do driver's tests for older people and all this stuff. So I'm excited. They don't have your home state yet, Chuck, but what do you think?
What can I say? We're Pennsylvania.
Yep. And Jill, I don't think Wisconsin has it yet either. Right?
No, I thought it was this giant race between us of which state was going to get it first. And now I feel out of the Midwest, now it's just, I think, us in Minnesota. And so it's just very disappointing.
Yep.
Well, don't be too worried. I just went to look for mine in my Apple Wallet and can't remember how to find it. Because I never have to use it. So, my vanity plate my vanity plate of my Apple Wallet is missing, so I'll have to dig deeper.
Okay. So one last story here. Apple TV Plus has maintained modest market share in the U.S. during the quarter 4 of 2024. The market share of Apple TV Plus in the U.S. has been fairly consistent over the last few quarters. At least that's what was from the latest research from the Just Watch shows. And now there's been some exclusive data here of market share streaming platforms for Q4, and the situation for Apple remains stable. It accounted for 8% market share in the U.S., but the last quarter of this year, 2024, the platform lost ground and went down to 7%. It's not significant, but it's a good thing here. So, but if you look at the full market share where it is, you got Amazon Video at 22%, Netflix at 21%, and it goes all the way down to Apple's at 7%. So it's down towards the bottom. But you know what? As we've been saying here, this just launched 6 years ago now, almost now, 2019. There's over 300 titles available and so much more original content. And they have put more focus on that more than ever before. So I'm pleased to see where Apple TV Plus is going. And I think it's going to get even better. And some Severance is coming out there very shortly. And there's going to be all other new shows coming soon. So what do you think, Chuck?
I'm glad you brought up Severance, because there seems to be a lot of excitement around this and a lot of unusual promotions going on. As we recorded this, there were a couple of things that were reported today. When Silo came back, it seemed like there was a little more attention. They pushed it a little bit harder. They did a couple interesting things to try to get you to pay attention to it. In today's streaming world, I don't think you can just, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, they have to know that it's there for them to come. So, and that's something that Apple TV Plus has been, just lacking with. So I'm hoping that maybe some of these new publicity things are a bellwether for better publicity going forward. If that happens, I think, given the quality of the shows and the variety of shows, that you'll start to see the percentages climb.
Yep. How about you, Marty?
Chuck, I was watching, I think, Colbert last night, and they were talking with Anna McKay, and they did apparently a glass booth in New York Central Square Station or whatever it was, and they worked like they were working at the office for 3 hours, and people just gathered around and watched them do that. I thought that was pretty kind of cool and very existential in some ways, that people would watch them work or pretend to work. I look at the list, Amazon Prime Video. Well, if you've got an Amazon account, you got it. It generally comes along with the Netflix. That's been around for a long time in terms of establishing. Max is basically HBO carryover. So people are getting some of that. And for a while, I was getting free Max through AT&T because I was an AT&T subscriber. And so
they owned it.
To me, it's sort of like these kind of ones at the top of the list are hard to argue that Apple's competing with them, because Apple's really kind of going with a free market. So you've got Hulu, which is revised and revamped television with not a lot of original content, to my knowledge. I don't know. And Paramount Plus, which is the NBC catalog for a year. What? Which?
CBS.
CBS's catalog. Okay, sorry. So Apple coming in right there at that level, I think is still pretty amazing. And also the longevity of the content that they have and how quickly they moved into the market. So,
yep, sure. All right, that's the show for this week. We had a blast. Thanks all of you for being here. Thanks everybody for listening and being here. So let's go ahead and wrap up. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchwithios, at techhangout.social, as well as on BlueSky at intouchwithios. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe when you're notified when we're live streaming on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/InTouchWithIOS, where you can watch the current and past live streams as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we've discussed are flipped in that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, many others. But just better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on BlueSky and Mastodon at DaveG65. Jill McKinley, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Oh, thanks so much. I am now starting to work on my YouTube channel, and it is Start with Small Steps. That's what I'm doing a lot of effort in because I think it's easier to get discovered. So there you go.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you being here. Chuck Joyner, always a pleasure having you here, and I always appreciate it. Where can people find you?
MacVoices.com is where you can find everything that I'm up to. We are in the process of releasing the shows, the interviews we shot at CES. We're just getting off the ground with that. There's a whole lot coming and a whole lot of great stuff. So definitely check that out. And on all the socials, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner. Dave, as always, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Last but certainly not least, Marty Jencius, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
You can't find me on Red Note or Lemonade. But you can find me, Jencius, Jencius, at BlueSky. And that's probably the social media piece I go to the most, or when I'm on social media. Best to find all of my stuff at thepodtalk.net. People are surprised that I have this organized capability, but all my podcasts are on there. You can get the bios of the folks that do it. You can get the podcast links to the shows, and also the YouTube links for the shows. So Tuesday nights with Chuck and Thursday nights with Dave keeps my life full and happy.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'm glad you're always here. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'd really appreciate it. We love doing the show, and we'll be back next week. But until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon.